Hello and welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be doing much like what we did in the last video, but we're going to be looking at Guild Wars 1. Now, last video we looked at a video from Master of None, who did an overview of Guild Wars. A lot of people in the comments of that video recommended me to look at the video that we're going to look at today, which is the worst MMO ever, Guild Wars by Josh Strife Hayes. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are aware of who Josh Strife Hayes is. He's a great YouTuber. He's been doing this a long time. He is someone I've been watching for a very long time as well. So I haven't seen this video though. I have not seen this video before. But I have been watching his content for a long time, and yeah, highly recommend going if you've not watched this video, if you've not checked out his channel. Links in the description, so go and do that. But it will be an interesting one to see how this video is, how it goes. I did quite like the sound of Guild Wars from the last video, but apparently this explains some other things that wasn't explained in the other one. So in the last video, that is. So I don't know. We'll have a look at it. But before we get into that, please do also like and subscribe to this channel because it supports me and helps the channel grow. And any recommendations for things that you want to look at, put it in the comments below, because as you can see from today, I will do it. So, anyway, right, so now that all of the guff is out of the way, let us full screen this and get straight into the reaction. So, the worst MMO ever, Guild Wars by Josh Strife Hayes. In 3, 2, 1, go.
I came looking for copper, and I found gold. Famous words, probably never said by Christopher Columbus himself, but this meme of him gazing into the distance with ships in the foreground does say it, and this is how I feel. The worst MMO ever series is all about finding the flops and the failures of the MMORPG world, but after 8 hours of playing Guild Wars 1, I might have found one of my newest favourite adventure games ever. And for all of you screaming, Guild Wars 1 isn't an MMORPG, it's a cooperative adventure game, don't worry, we will get to you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Strife Hayes, and this is Worst MMO Ever, a series where I play...
I wonder if he's had any other... Is this the only game he's had so far where he's looked for a bad game and then actually ended up with a good one? Surely he's looked at some other ones, but anyway, we'll
through the worst MMO games I can find, so you don't have to. Drop a like on the video or sub to the channel for more MMO
I've already done it.
Ring the
you
bell
do it too.
For all the future notifications. As usual, a massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel going. More on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. Guild Wars 1. Right, we have a lot to cover and no defined place to begin, because to understand even how to play Guild Wars 1, you need to understand the strange way it's been created and how its expansion packs worked. First off, yes, it's still online and still playable. In fact, the devs have basically said the resources required to run Guild Wars 1 are so small, they'll keep it online indefinitely. There's even an article on the 2 guys who keep it going. It is,
Two guys? What was that? 2 guys keep it going? The original Guild Wars first came out 2001. Is that the whole game? Monumental Challenge and Endless Media Avalanche doesn't have multiplayer. Original Guild Wars Fantasy. Why does it say it? Oh, it doesn't say it. So, fabulous. 2 people are keeping it alive. That
even
is
an article on the 2 guys who keep it going. It is, however,
wow,
a
that's
paid
brilliant.
game. But the whole appeal of Guild Wars 1, it was a buy once, play forever game, no monthly sub. It's even on Steam, but buying the whole thing gets kinda confusing, so let's break it down. The main game of Guild Wars 1 is made up of 3 chapters. Prophecies, which many assume is the core game because it was the first to release, then Factions, then Nightfall. There is narrative timeline flow from 1 to 3, but you can play them all in an interesting way. You can start a character on Prophecies, then play through it, then start a new character on Factions and play through that, then start a new character on Nightfall and play through that, and you're encouraged to do this because there are new classes in Factions and Nightfall. And if you start fresh in each chapter, you're able to play through that chapter's tutorial area and experience the whole story. But if you want to finish Prophecies and then use your old character to play through Factions or Nightfall, you can. You'll just be starting at a higher level and skip the tutorial sections of those chapters. Basically, if you and a friend both want to play through just Nightfall without completing Prophecies or Factions, you can just start at Nightfall, that's fine. And then, when you've got a higher level character on at least one of the chapters, you can move into the actual expansion Eye of the North, which is a load of content specifically designed for higher level characters. For this video, I'm going to start and play through the beginning of Prophecies, because I want to experience the actual start of the game as it was all those years ago. First up, character creation. I'm going with a Necromancer, because I'm hoping I get to raise an army of...
No, I was just thinking, it's new expansions for, you know, FF14 and whatever... WoW you get is all just for the people who have already hit max level, whereas they had these chapters which you could start again, so anyone could jump in at any point, which is very interesting because I've never heard of that happen in any other game before.
Undead minions and siphon health away from enemies. Amazingly, the name Josh Strife Hayes isn't taken, and I can have a name with spaces finally. And we open into a cutscene. Cue the wave of nostalgia that's about to wash over all the Guild Wars 1's fans watching right now.
The last day dawns on the kingdom of Ascalon.
It was a great party. Yeah, but someone's got to do the dishes.
Oh, it's not gonna be me.
It arrives with no fanfare, no tolling of alarms. Those who will remember will speak fondly of the warm morning breeze. People carry on with their daily lives, unaware that in a short while, everything they have ever known
it's nice to see the whole
come
thing
to an end.
This is Ascalon.
Scribe? Yes, my lord. These Char are relentless, but we shall hold the wall at all costs. Yes, my lord. Take this message to Sir Titus. Go forth and recruit the strongest, the smartest. Bring to me the bravest in all of Ascalon. Find me the heroes who will lead our kingdom to glory.
So the Char, that's those beastmen, are...
Just gonna pause it there, because I can imagine, like, obviously I've not played it, so that held no nostalgia for me, of course, but I still, to this day, even if I did recently make like a new character on WoW, and if I was to make like a human character, which is the first one I made, like that opening cinematic for Elwyn Forest is still very nostalgic. Just everything about it, just the voice and the camera shots and everything, and that zone generally is very nostalgic for me. So I can kind of I see why something like this would evoke so much emotion in people who used to play this game back when it came out.
Attacking, and we need to go and make them stop. The game starts, WASD and left-click movement. Spacebar does not jump, because Guild Wars 1 has no Z-axis. There is no jumping in this game.
Fair enough.
All the maps are essentially a flat plane. And this does take some serious getting used to coming from the jumping puzzles of Guild Wars 2. Thankfully, rebinding keys is really, really easy. The interface in the game...
Am I right in thinking that FF11 you can jump in that too? I could pluck that from the depths of my brain, so that could be wrong. That could be wrong.
Top quality. Although we'll look at some stat screen issues later. Chat to this guard and he sends me to Tidus. Most of the game is a third-person classic RPG adventure style, but you can zoom in and play first-person if you like.
Okay.
It's not recommended because, as we'll see later, combat gets very tactical very quickly.
Wow,
the world map is relatively basic, lacking any signifiers of connected regions or easy-to-recognize locations of map transitions. Navigation is actually one of the qualms we'll keep coming back to. It's not bad.
Okay.
It could just have some quality of life improvements made to it to help new players navigate easier. Quick note about the sound. The soundtrack is absolutely amazing because it's done by Jeremy Soule, the genius behind Morrowind, Skyrim, Supreme Commander, Dawn of War, and Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. This is basically the go-to guy for video game soundtracks. Head through the gate.
Ooh. You know what? Was it Jeremy Soule, did he say?
It's actually one of the qualms we'll keep coming back to. It's not bad. It could just have some quality of life improvements made to it to help new players navigate easier. Quick note about the sound. The soundtrack is absolutely amazing because it's done by Jeremy Soule.
Jeremy Soule, yeah. That, I mean, the list of credits he just listed off, which he'll do when I play it again, is crazy. I have been thinking recently of looking more at some of the music of these games, and so if you have a song or a track that you really like from Guild Wars or Guild Wars 2, put it in the comments, because I'd love to have a listen and potentially have a look at it. Because I'm sure there's some phenomenal ones. I just don't know. I don't know where to look, really. So if you could put them in the comments, please do. Please do.
Genius behind Morrowind, Skyrim, Supreme
Nice.
Commander, Dawn of War, and Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. This is basically the go-to guide for video game soundtracks. Head through the gate and, right, let's address the "this is not an MMORPG" argument. Guild Wars 1 is not fully open world. It doesn't even describe itself as an MMORPG. The cities and the safe zones are player hubs, and if you're in a city, you will see other people around you. When you leave into the surrounding wilderness, you'll be leaving into a specific instance that only you and your team will exist in. You won't bump into other players randomly in the wild. While in a major hub city, you can team up, and then you can go and take on whatever quests you've all got. This is the essence of the game design. Guild Wars 1 is much closer to a traditional RPG adventure game that just happens to be online. It's not an MMORPG as we would expect. It is an online experience, an adventure game with other players gathered into towns, creating smaller parties to go adventuring and exploring with. Now, you'd assume if the game was balanced around teamwork, you'd have issues once the player base begins to drop, but don't worry, they've thought of that, as we'll see later. We're told to go and kill some scales down by a river. Combat is pretty simple. Left-click an enemy to start auto-attacking, and you've got an ability hotbar down the bottom. Now, you can actually equip any weapon, no matter what class you chose. Weapons are not class-specific, as long as you have the required skill level.
Yeah, I seem to remember that. They are fairly, from the last video, you could pretty much make your builds however you want to. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
In the relevant skill, you can use it. And you'll see the hotbar down the bottom. You can mix and match abilities from two separate classes to make up your ideal set of abilities. A primary class you choose at the start, and then you can mix any secondary you like. But you can only change your abilities in a safe city. Once you leave to go adventuring, you've committed to that build for that adventure. Now, I'm a big fan of classic adventure RPGs, and so far, I was having a good time. But it was this exact moment that really made me smile. A picturesque fantasy village, waterfalls in the distance, a beautiful high fantasy musical score accompanying that classic adventure game graphical style, with textures a little bit too complicated, a little bit too saturated,
I know exactly what he's talking about.
Sharp. Right then, I knew, even if I found aspects I'm going to dislike, and I do, I was probably going to like the overall experience of playing Guild Wars 1.
The thing is, there's lots of games that I've played, and I'm sure you've played, that have a lot of flaws. Flaws, not the ground, but you still love them, and because they have a lot of charm. And I get the impression that this game, Guild Wars, despite its flaws, has a lot of charm, and it has a lot. That is, I think the overall ambience and the experience of it may outshine any sort of negativity that it has. But we'll see, I suppose.
Have a chat with a priest and he sends me to deliver something. Now, you can use the world map to fast travel, but only to major hubs or cities you've already been to, which saves a lot of time, and I'm fine with. Now I get told to choose a second profession, so I do what anyone would do and go to the wiki to read up on the builds. And there are so many builds in Guild Wars 1. It is ridiculous.
Plains
there are literally thousands of abilities. And I'm not exaggerating, that's not hyperbole. There are, in fact, thousands of abilities.
Jesus.
The first thing people explain to me is there is no best build. There are just complementary builds. And as a necromancer, it would benefit me some way to have a way to refill my own mana. So I went with Mesmer, which is a rather unique class to the Guild Wars franchise. Kind of a wizard who focuses on manipulation magic. In Guild Wars 2, they can create portals to make the jumping puzzles trivial. In Guild Wars 1, they can get you all your stuff back. For my first Mesmer task, I need to go and kill a bull, and on the way I check my skills out, and what are all these little symbols next to the abilities? I don't know what they are. So I find a drop-down menu which explains them, but again, this is an aspect of the age of Guild Wars 1. This was a game released on physical CD. I even got the Nightfall expansion pack in physical copy on my shelf in the background. You can see it in the live videos. And in all of those packs, you get a manual. And while you can still
Good
download
Lord.
the PDFs on the website, this game comes from an era where your parents
Yeah,
would buy you a
of
game
course.
and you would sit in the back of the car eagerly
And
reading it.
I
Or you
miss
would get
that.
home and
I miss
install
that
the
so
game and
much.
sit on the toilet reading the manual
Yeah,
as
yeah,
it
yeah.
installed.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a game that expects you to already know stuff because it gives you the
You've read it
reading to
all.
teach you the stuff. So I will forgive it this for not explaining it in-game. On the way, I get attacked and I
guess there's no real, as the game's being run by 2 men, or 2 people, I should say, there's no scope of adding it in. So I guess it's just, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of video tutorials out there on YouTube.
get destroyed. Right, important note about enemies.
Okay.
They want you dead. And enemies have the same abilities as players.
Yeah, I like
Enemies
that.
will use special attacks. You'll recognize them. They will heal themselves. They will crowd control you. The AI in Guild Wars 1 doesn't need to mob you or swarm you or overwhelm you because 2 or 3 enemies can just out-heal and
jeez.
outplay you, which is a design style I love. It makes
Okay.
each individual enemy potentially dangerous if you're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
prepared.
true.
When you die, you'll resurrect at a shrine and get a little death debuff which drops off over time. And as I return to life, a small girl asks me to find her flute, saying she dropped it by a river. Okay, child, the Char invasion can clearly wait.
That
This
can
is
wait.
obviously more important. But oh, here's an interesting quest. Form a party. That's the whole quest. Form a party with another player. So I decided,
Okay.
let's go to town and try and do this. I have a quick
bet it
look
was
at who's
quite
around, and the answer
difficult.
is not many people. I
Yeah.
do see one person. I say hi, and they disappear. Wow,
Oh,
rude.
MMOs.
I explore around some more,
2022.
and I managed to find the area from the opening cutscene. Oh, cool. I love it when you can visit places
Yeah.
in-game that you've seen in cutscenes, and they look identical.
Yeah, they
I really
do.
thought there'd be like a main town square or something, but no, this whole place
Is there
seems
not?
pretty deserted. I do see some more quest givers, though, and here's an issue. The minimap and the world map do not show you quest givers or available quests. You need to just wander around until you find them. And the community seem fine with this. Now, personally, I like to know where the available quests are, but I will live with this design. Once you are on a quest, you can select it from your list and you'll have a green star appear on the world map showing you where to go, but
Okay,
no
that's
such
okay.
system for finding them. Combat starts slow, but I do feel my abilities are substantial. Each one affects combat, I can level up and I get some stat points, and you can spend your points in various skills. You need to hit certain thresholds to use certain items, and increased skills means certain spells are now more effective. And in a very nice touch, you can reassign your skills while in any safe zone, so you can try out a variety of builds before you go adventuring.
Oh,
I
that's
like
cool.
this. It means you're not forced
Yeah.
to make an alternate character for every single playstyle of your main class. I go and kill some more bandits, and once I've actually started reading and using my skills tactically, the whole vibe changes. I can drain the enemy's health with my necromancer skills and refill my own heavily with my mesmer skills. I'm basically a self-healing wizard tank. I grab this quest
Very
item
good.
and carry it back. Literally, you have to actually
You actually have
and
to grab
carry
it.
the item. Try
It reminds me of when you play Monster Hunter, you got to get the dragon egg home. Like, that sounds crazy.
not to get attacked along the way. Except
That's
a few
mad.
more quests, because Guild Wars 1 is designed so completing quests and pushing through the story is explicitly more effective than grinding enemies. The max level is only 20. And the first
Is that
chapter,
it?
Prophecies, the one I'm playing now,
Yeah.
will get you there about halfway through the story.
Wow.
Factions and Nightfall will actually get you there much, much quicker. Because once you're
That's
at level
mad.
20, it's about finding builds and skill points and items and team-based tactics to win any encounter. As we'll see later.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting. To like have an MMO that's not focused on leveling up, it's focused on how you play. Oh, it's not really, I suppose it is an MMO, but you know what I mean. That's crazy. I wish more games would be like that, but I guess it'd be hard to do it in an online format. It's more like a, like a Dragon Age Origins or a Baldur's Gate or something like that. I suppose you would find that type of gameplay.
It's less a level-based
Sounds great.
MMO grind and much more a classic RPG strategy game. Knowing I can self-heal, can I kill the Mesmer Quest Bull boss?
You can do it.
Yes. Yes, I can.
Okay.
Quite easily, in fact.
Nice.
Now, I could go and try
Very
all
nice.
the other secondary classes, but I'm pretty happy with a self-healing necromancer, so I'll stick with this. Titus
works.
asks if I'm
If it
ready to go
works.
fight some Char, and I say, sure. This starts a 30-second countdown and warns me I'm about to leave everything behind, and here is where I made a mistake. Because the area I'm in right now is known as the pre-searing, and once you leave, you cannot return. And there are things in here it's very important to get, like skills, armor, weapons, and skill points. Now, the skills and items you can pick up later in the game. It's not a problem. But remember that little girl's flute I didn't find? Completing that quest gives you an item that you need hundreds of hours later in the Eye of the North expansion.
That's crazy.
And if you don't get the secondary...
That's like when you play... That is mad. That is absolutely mad. Hundreds of hours later, one small item you have to hold on to for hundreds of hours. It reminds me of like having when you play like a choose your own adventure book or something, and then if you don't have the item, you die. Basically, that sounds crazy.
Skill points from here, you basically lose them. This is like a LucasArts point-and-click game. One early mistake and you pay for it later.
Yeah,
not quite as game-breakingly harsh. There is even an entire community built around playing Guild Wars 1 only in the pre-searing map. This is like the intro tutorial, and there's a small demographic of players who literally exist only here. But I have committed to leaving, so off we...
What? Why? I mean, I suppose I was the only comparison I could draw is free-to-play RuneScape, but I mean, there's a lot of game there, to be fair.
30-second countdown starts, and we're thrown into the first instanced adventure map with our henchmen, and this is a brilliant system for solo players. Remember how the game is designed around having a party of players outside of towns? Well, if you can't find human players, you can just take AI-controlled henchmen, and they're actually pretty damn good. The healer will always try and heal you. The tank will grab the aggro. Now, you can't alter their weapons or equipment or skills, and you can't issue specific orders like who to...
I always enjoyed having a party there. There's something... Or a companion there. Like, I remember, I think... when leveling up in WoW Legion, I think you after a while you'd get a someone to help you in your class order hall, from your class order hall, I think, and that just made it feel a little bit more, I don't know, dynamic, even though they barely did anything. Just the fact that they were there made it feel a bit more dynamic. I enjoy, like, having a party of players like you would in, I don't know, like the newer Final Fantasies, well, in all of them, but the ones where you can actually see them. And like Dragon Age Origins and things like that. Like, I think it adds a lot of dynamic, and I don't know, it'd be interesting to see if these, I mean, they're just henchmen, so I suppose maybe they change every time, or do they have personalities? It'd be cool if they did. It'd be really cool if they did. Anyway.
Attack or who to heal, but they will make the right decision most of the time. But in the Nightfall chapter and the Eye of the North expansion, the henchman system got upgraded into the hero system. Now with heroes, you actually can change their equipment and customize their skills and combat choices. You basically build your own tactical team of 7 controlled companions.
Amazing.
Some heroes need you to follow quest lines to unlock. Some need to not be in the party to unlock new quest lines. And having a team of maxed out heroes makes taking on the game's hardest challenges possible as a solo player. We need to hunt down Doomtooth, so me and my team set off. This henchman system is
really cool.
Brilliant. It can help if you look at Guild Wars 1
like
as
that.
A traditional RPG. And
the fact that you can unlock them through questing, and that if you have certain characters or henchmen there, then other ones won't unlock. That's really cool. The how dynamic that is, and how you have to play the game, and how you have to be careful is not often seen, I guess, in the online RPG games of today, which is awesome.
With classes and stats and levels and skills, with a storyline and side quests that just happens to also be online. It's a narrative adventure game where your friends can choose to join you on your adventure. It's less massively multiplayer and more instanced multiplayer. Guild Wars 1 describes itself as an online RPG, and honestly, the focus on narrative adventures and meaningful plot-driven quests with named characters that I can team up with other players to complete, or use henchmen if my friends are busy, over the usual MMO trope of kill X or collect X with no real relation
this is
to a
great.
greater narrative, is a really nice experience. Guild Wars 1 feels like an adventure I want to go on, not just an adventure I happen to be on. So we kill the boss, the kingdom is saved, and then... Oh.
What's going on? Hello?
It was on that day that the Char discovered a way around the Great Wall, a way to bring it down.
was just getting good. Get yourself a SIM card. What a thoughtful gift. The hell?
That was the searing, the event we cannot
I
return
see.
from. It is now
Okay,
2 years later, and
it's complete. It's 2 years later. What? The whole dynamic of the zone is changed. This is great. This is. I mean, well, I had to do a whole entire expansion in Cataclysm to make this happen. This is crazy.
and Ascalon is basically destroyed. The Char
Wow.
found a way to break the wall, and I guess we lost. There's an emissary from Kryta who's arrived, and we need to go and chat to them. Titus has been promoted in the 2 years since, and is now War
Titus.
Master. And he tells us, nope, don't talk with that dude, he is bad news, but we ignore him and go anyway. The game even reminds you about henchmen in the quest description. Now, if you do take henchmen, the experience you get will be split evenly between you, despite the fact they
Okay.
don't level up, and they will even take some of your gold drops, but it is worth it just to have the support of the team.
Yeah, I
the
would have
ambassador
thought
dude,
so.
the one everyone was saying was terrible, literally gives me a quest to deliver some supplies he bought for an orphanage in the city, meaning the dude is either super cool and everyone's got him wrong, or this is a really nefarious plot. Hand the stuff for the orphans to a lady in the city and then head back. There is a lot of walking in the early game, but the music is nice and I like looking at how the landscape has changed. And oh cool, you get a skill for completing the quest. That's one of the benefits
Wow.
of having a narrative-driven game. You can advance the player as they progress and regulate the amount.
This is the thing. One of the things I missed from when I first played WoW. I know I compare it a lot, but is that unlocking skills that you use through actual having to do quests and stuff. It makes. I don't know. It just makes your character feel so like you're actually progressing through adventure, rather than just arbitrarily just getting the number bigger. If you know what I mean.
Amount of complexity they have access to, so you're not overwhelming new players too early. And just as I'm getting confident with my group of henchmen, the game reminds me not to. The enemy have healers, and they are chain healing each other
Oh my
and then
God.
healing their frontline fighters faster than we can hurt them. I love this combat. It's not mindless, it's chaotic, but still in an organised
really gotta
way.
think
It's
about it,
actually very
yeah.
tactical. Honestly, Guild Wars 1 feels more like a strategy game and less like an action game. Like you're balancing your resources and your enemy's resources, and you're trying to interrupt their plans as you establish your own and put yours into motion. I can imagine with human players, these missions get really tactical. We actually die to this group of enemies, not because they're more powerful, but because I didn't organise well enough. And when you're in the
Yeah.
wilds, you have to wait for your whole group to wipe before you can revive at the nearest revive point.
I see.
Oh, also, quests don't have recommended levels listed with them. You don't really know how difficult a quest is going to be before you take it
Until you
on,
do
but
it.
the early game stuff seems pretty well balanced. I'm guessing it's balanced around map location of rough level that you'd be. Enter a new area. Now, I've learned to focus on the healers, so every combat encounter is now quite fun.
Teaching
You need
you.
to focus enough to know that you're on top of things and abilities are being used, but it's not so intense it becomes draining to repeat it. It is so much closer to a classic tactic game than the action combat of Guild Wars 2. I've only
Yeah.
been playing a short time and I can already see why hardcore fans of Guild Wars 1 would not like the transition to Guild Wars 2, because honestly they would not like the transition to Guild Wars 2, because honestly they are two very different games.
Hold on, I just wanna hear that
One
again.
classic tactic game than the action combat of Guild Wars 2. I've only been playing a short time and I can already see why hardcore fans of Guild Wars 1 would not like the transition to Guild Wars 2, because honestly they are two very different games.
They are. I mean, it's kind of surprising that. I mean, when you learn more about what Guild Wars was, it's surprising that they even called it Guild Wars 2. Like, they're so different. I mean, there's no similarities. There's very little similarities at all. I mean, they've reused some like assets of symbols and stuff that have been carried over, and map symbols and stuff. Basically, what I mean. But otherwise, it's a completely different type of game where Guild Wars 2 is more of a traditional, well, not traditional, but yeah, it's an MMO RPG, whereas this is tactical RPG with MMO in it. Like, I can understand the hardcore fans of Guild Wars 1 may not have been very happy with Guild Wars 2 at all. Or I can see why.
Games. One kind of annoying issue. The lack of a Z-axis means you have to find the downward slopes to move up or down hills,
Oh,
and
that
there's
is
no real way to
annoying.
know which slope you can walk up or down until you try. Oh,
I
also
see.
the friendly henchman AoE skill and the enemy damaging AoE skill look exactly the same.
Yeah,
like
that's
if you're
annoying.
standing in a magic damage zone with spells raining down on you, you have to just watch and see if it's your own safe magic zone or the enemy's magic zone.
Okay.
If you start taking damage, you need to
Run
move.
away.
Guild Wars 1 is a great game, but it's not perfect. Ground markers could be useful.
Yes.
We get into a pretty damn big fight, actually lose our own healer and mage halfway through. Now, you are meant to...
What is the scope? I think I said this earlier in the video. My brain just cannot cope. But what is the scope of actual, like, some quality of life updates for Guild Wars? As I said, well, as the video said, 2 people are running it, which is probably doesn't mean there's a lot for it because they're probably spending a lot of their time just keeping it going. Are there add-ons and mods and stuff that you can use for this that are available? I don't know. That would be interesting because if there's some quality of life add-ons, then that'd be fantastic.
Have a resurrection ability by now, but that was gained back in the pre-searing and I just missed it. So I guess we're pushing on without them. Remember, they can't resurrect until we wipe, and each journey outside of a city is basically a mini isolated adventure, so it's just me and the tank now. Problem is, we found this quest boss, and he has a self-heal. This is what I mean by enemies using player skills. This boss can out-heal me and the tank, but we can out-heal his damage, so we're stuck in a stalemate.
It's just
I
in a
need
loop.
the rest of my team to beat this dude, and we don't have the DPS, so we have to die. And for some reason, we revive directly into another fight.
Oh.
Wow, spawn count. The AI
Yeah.
really is similar to players. One good aspect, once you've killed an enemy mob in your current instance, they stay dead, provided you're not in a specific cooperative mission.
Oh, that's
they only
cool.
respawn once you return to town and then rejoin the wild instance. So you
Yeah.
can die repeatedly and just keep trying to
Keep
make
going
progress
through,
as long as
not
you don't
killing the
leave
trash
the
again and
map.
again.
And with this
Good.
tactic, we kill the boss. One bad aspect, my inventory is full. And you cannot
Oh,
drop
no.
items until your account is at least 24 hours old. You must
What?
go to a merchant and sell stuff. I paid for the game. I should be able to drop items whenever
mad.
the hell I want to.
That seems-
Back into town,
why?
more classic game issues.
Why?
The minimap and world map do not show the locations of NPCs, so I don't know where the merchants are. It's one of those cases where the best way to know what to do is to already know what to do. Of course, now there's a wiki and maps
True.
where you can find NPCs, but without this info, navigation in cities is frustratingly trial and error. There are some collector NPCs who want specific crafted materials to trade for things, but it doesn't give me any information on how to get the things they want. I know this is just a staple of old RPG games, but adding a little tooltip of your cursor over saying, oh, here's how you get this material, here is where it drops, would go a long way to helping accessibility in the early game. I even Google around for some mods. Mainly I want to see if there's a quest start location
Are there mods?
highlighter on the map.
There must be something,
but
right?
Everyone just says use the wiki. So I guess wiki it is. The only part of the game you can really...
That just reminds me of when I was a kid and when I was playing RuneScape, and it was Rune HQ, I believe, was the website. I don't know if it's still running. I assume it probably is, or has evolved into something else. But Rune HQ was the website, and I remember seeing people, you'll be in a quest, doing something, and there'll be people there who are stuck. I mean, if you've ever done a quest in RuneScape, you cannot do it without a guide. You just can't. There's no way. If you it's how people discovered it, what to do to write the guides in the first place is madness. But and then people are like, oh, what do you do? How do you do it? How do you do it? And you just apply use Rune HQ, use Rune HQ, use Rune HQ, and it's the same with this. Use the wiki. Just use the wiki. I guess, fair enough. Fair enough, I guess.
permanently miss is the pre-searing, so at least I'll be able to come back later if I like and do all the quests that I've missed. While reading around, I find this interesting Reddit thread and then this article about the future of Guild Wars 1. They've basically said as long as Guild Wars 2 is running, they'll keep Guild Wars 1 alive because it's such a small amount of server capacity, they don't mind sparing it. And I mean, it did release in 2005 and they've kept it online for 16 years despite Guild Wars 2 releasing in 2012. That's a pretty good commitment to your player base. Adventure around some more, find this random statue with some lore written on it and some random NPCs. Assume these are class quests or used in later quests I'm not currently on. I like finding random stuff in the world like this. Makes it feel like a real adventure game. Reminds me of like the PlayStation 1 games when you'd find something and you have no idea what it is. A world that exists outside of your own actions. What? You are involved in the world's story, but you are not a hero. You're just an adventurer doing your best.
This is what I used to love about WoW, when I've used the example of WoW a lot today, but but when I first played it, we weren't heroes. We were just people in the story, and when that changed and we became the champion of Azeroth or whatever it was, I started to enjoy the game less, and I don't. I mean, it's weird because I like in Final Fantasy XIV. If you played it, you know that you are the main character, but that's set up in a way where you being the main character makes sense. So I didn't mind it in Final Fantasy XIV. It made sense, and I enjoyed it for what it was. But in WoW, I did not enjoy it, and I find in like massively multiplayer games that are less narratively focused than FF14, I suppose. It's nice to just feel like you are part of the world, and the main character of, or the protagonist of the game is the world, and you are just merely observing it or interacting with it. I like that. Okay.
The whole thing so far feels very late 90s, early 2000s, very Dungeons and Dragons. I actually feel like I'm adventuring into the unknown right now, and I'm really enjoying it. It's hard to explain the difference between feeling like you're playing an MMO and feeling like you're playing an online adventure game, but here's my attempt. The main difference is, right now, I actually care about the adventure I'm going on, and it feels like an adventure because I don't care about my levels or my stats. The game has actually given me all the skills and abilities I need to survive the adventure it is putting first. The fact that it's online is a second, almost irrelevant bit right now. Guild Wars 1 isn't an MMORPG. It's a classic RPG with online bits. Back in the city and Crafter's Corner. This will be useful once I know where to get any of this stuff, I'm sure. While playing, I'm wondering how much I've damaged my complete meta playthrough by leaving the pre-searing too early, so I find a checklist and it's actually not that bad. I can still buy the resurrection skill, I've missed a few secondary skill points, but nothing game-breaking, and I've skipped some weapons and armour, but I'll survive. Honestly, I'll be making a new character for Factions and Nightfall and then choosing my favourite to move on to Eye of the North anyway, so I'm not too worried about this. Hand in some more quests, get sent to go and check on the Char camp to the north, run through the ramparts and spot this absolutely gigantic Magic the Gathering card, clearly some sort of sliver. This siege engine bothers me because it's using a trebuchet-style counterweight but a catapult-style launching cradle. Pick one and stick with it, and the correct choice is trebuchet. This NPC asks if I want to go to Embark Beach, and I don't know, do I? Yes? So I go to Embark Beach and, oh, it's actually quite busy. There's a player base.
Oh my god.
Everyone is level 20. Right, I don't want to be here, do I? This is wrong. I have a chat with some players and, right, this is actually quite a cool feature. Embark Beach is a gathering location where players from all of the chapters can form parties and then access whatever cooperative mission they happen to be on at the time. So it's basically a massive social hub for finding a group of players to help on whatever you need help on. I'm going to stick with using henchmen for now.
Seems really necessary. That's good that they did that.
Maxed out level 20s might kill the balance somewhat. We need to search for the Char army north of the wall, and oh, this is lovely. This bridge facing the ruined chapel with the sunlight behind it and some stained glass left. That's a beautiful set piece right there. Map ambience and graphical design has so far been stellar. Now we need to go north, and while the environmental design is great, the actual walkways of the map are pretty linear, so I hope I'm going the right way, but I can't really think of how it would be the wrong way because there aren't that many ways to go. I bumped into some named enemies along the way, probably mini-bosses of a sort, and each one actually uses different abilities, which is nice, and this dude will not stop healing himself. I'm having to save up my mana, wait for him to heal, and then go full burst DPS and hope we can burn him down before he heals again. I actually get quite lost on this map and backtrack quite a long way before noticing a lever that I just missed. So, yeah, that one's on me. My bad. Fair. Oh, nice. The enemies are fighting each other. I love it when there's internal conflict between third parties in games. Really fleshes out the world beyond just you. Kill a big scorpion and find some random dude's armor. It's a quest item. I'll just hold on to it for now. I still hope I'm going the right way. Oh, I find a ghost, and oh, he takes the armor off me. Right, it's a bonus hidden quest. Find 4 bits of armor, return it to the dude. Okay, Hooray. Is this just within this small map, or all over the world, or how does this work? You know what, let's just look up a map, and right, now I see how these work. Cities are multiplayer hubs. Exploring the areas around town is still instanced areas, but what I'm on now is a specific cooperative mission. It's basically a dungeon. You start, you fight through, you do the objective, you finish. The wiki even shows how many cooperative missions each chapter has, and you can play them on normal or hard mode to get different rewards. And most of them have a hidden bonus quest, so the mission map is relatively linear. It's basically an early game dungeon. And I love early game dungeons. Right, now I know what the game is giving me, I'm all too happy to jump back into it.
You know what you're doing.
Now I know what this experience is, I understand it. If your party wipes during these cooperative missions, you'll go back to the start and have to do them again. So when you see a new enemy, you're probably going the right way. Oh, and the world map becomes just an area map, and you have this handy-dandy red dotted line showing you where you've been, which
That's so good. I wish more games would do that. Like, just knowing where you've been in a dungeon is so helpful.
Exploring easier. It means backwards navigation is guided, but forwards navigation needs to be trailblazing. This is great. I managed to find all 4 bits of ghost armor, mostly thanks to help from the wiki, hand them in, and 1,000 bonus
Good old wiki.
Fantastic. You know, even though I'm the only player, the human player in
that animation, I don't know if that was a quest complete or level up one. Very good.
Map right now,
you need that dopamine
because the henchmen
from the animations.
Little sarcastic quips whenever we stand around.
Really?
Or battle cries when we run in. It feels like a nice little team. The fact the henchman keeps saying little sarcastic quips whenever we stand around, or battle cries when we run in. It feels
I love that because, like, you, even if there isn't a given fleshed out like lore for your henchmen, if they start, you start to get if they have these quips or they have these thing, you know, battle cries or whatever, that you start to get a feel of what they might be like as a person, and then you can kind of, you know, in a sense, kind of, I don't know, formulate who they are through your own interpretation, and then it makes it feel like it makes the game feel more real. It makes the relationships with the characters feel more meaningful. Something as simple as just like give them a few lines here and there can add so much personality to characters that could have easily just been there as faceless, nameless helpers, essentially. So that's one thing that I was thinking about earlier, is like, do these henchmen actually have deep, are characters, or are they just simply there to help you out? And the fact that they do, or they are... Well, the fact that they do say things like this, I think it's very, very good. Very good.
Nice little team. The fact that an online RPG from 2005 is still playable and completely solo-friendly 16 years later and balanced really shows how well designed this system was. The self-healing bosses, though, they get irritating, but I've not really got a leg to stand on because I've been self-healing, so this is just a taste of my own medicine. Finally make it to the Hidden Char camp, discover them, another cutscene, and oh, our main character is fully voiced, and the voice acting isn't bad.
The Char invasion force. Captain Calhan was right.
Okay.
They've spotted us! Back to the wall!
That's a uniquely Guild Wars thing, isn't it? Like the protagonist that you play actually is voiced. They're bursting through! And they're very low down, I was about to say.
No.
Okay, they
and
burst
now
through.
The second part
Here we
of
go.
the mission begins, which is literally run away. There's an army of Char behind us, and we cannot fight them all. It's now a race against time to report this to the captain, and thankfully the route back is pretty much a straight line, so we can't get lost. My henchmen do, however, hang behind and sacrifice themselves to allow me to escape. While running, let's have a read of some reviews. Old, but it's extremely massive despite that.
Okay, it is old.
9 out of 10. Puzzles, 3 out of 10. Action, 9 out of 10. Atmosphere, 10 out of 10. Classic RPG, but so epic storylines. Specifically when you have all the expansions.
Lovely.
One of the best MMOs on the market. I love the engaging story, the most which is followed by good combat solo or a group of great players that fills the world of Guild Wars. A must-play for any MMO fan.
Okay.
And a meta score of 89 with a user score of 8.3. With a summary of Guild Wars takes the best elements of today's massively multiplayer online games and combines them with a new mission-based design that eliminates the tedium of those games. You can meet new friends in towns or outposts, form a party, and then go tackle a quest together.
That just sounds great, man.
I'm inclined to agree with most of those. To put it into perspective, the Guild Wars 1 trilogy, which contains Prophecies, Factions, Nightfall, but not Eye of the North, is on Steam and currently has a 93%.
I wonder how many hours of content that is for 20 quid.
Approval rating. It is one of the best online RPGs Steam sells.
Damn.
My henchmen have bravely stayed behind and die, and I reach the wall as the human NPCs run forward and start battling the Char, and then I stupidly look away from the keyboard to write down how cool this is, and then I die. And I respawn. At the start of the whole mission, god damn it. Right, because we wiped, we need to go through the whole thing again. And this time I am changing my henchman squad around. I'm taking a mage for more burst DPS. Here's one aspect I really dislike and wish was done better. The information about your character is extremely fragmented. You have a total health and a total amount of mana, and your weapon does elemental type damage, and you sometimes have boosts from your armor and items and equipment and stats and skills. And finding all this information is spread throughout various screens. You need to look down to see your health. You need to hover your cursor over your weapon to see how much damage you're doing. You need to open your skills to see what your skills can do. I would like one definitive stats window with all of the important numerical values of your character listed on it. I want to be able to see at a glance, without hovering my mouse over anything, how much damage I'm doing on average, what elements I'm attacking with, how much defense I've got, how much elemental energy recharge I've got, how much hit point recharge rate I've got, and I would love a comparison tooltip whenever I hover over a new item or weapon to show me the gains or losses from equipping it compared to what I've currently got equipped. Currently, you just need to remember what you have and then compare them mentally.
I mean, I can't even imagine how to remember everything. That's just huge amount of information. It's something, a sort of one singular tab, like you're suggesting,
your
would be.
Head. I know this isn't a game-breaking mechanical bug. It's just a quality of life update I would.
It's just an old game.
If there's already a screen with this info on it and I've just missed it, or there's an option to turn on compare with currently equipped when you cursor over an item, please let me know. Hang on, you can equip anything, can't you? And my wand is doing 5 to 6 damage, but this sword is doing more. And I could equip a shield, and I could just use a sword and a shield as a necromancer. A hammer.
A hammer?
I can be a necromancer with a hammer.
Fantastic.
I seem to have accidentally recreated Hector from Castlevania, and I am completely on board with this.
Yeah, why wouldn't you be?
And hand in the bonus quest twice for more experience, so I checked the wiki, and no, sadly you can't. Lovely 5-hour play warning from the game. Always nice to be reminded just how much time I'm sitting here wasting. Honestly, the not being able to drop things from your account under 24 hours is awful. Please remove this limitation for paid accounts.
I think that's bizarre.
Burning the boss down is a lot faster now we have a mage, and now that I know what I'm doing. Spot the Char again, play the cutscene again, run away again. This time pay attention and actually finish the quest. Fantastic. After that, I just journey around for a bit, accepting quests and following what few plot threads I've picked up. Some NPC collectors want items I've been finding in the co-op missions or the Wildlands, and I've also discovered you can hold Alt to have all the NPCs display their nameplates and jobs, so finding a merchant just became a lot easier. I even find this skill seller and pick up the Resurrection skill. You can use it once on every mission, and it recharges when you go back to a main city hub. Oh, I've also got the Animate Bone Horror spell, so now I can be an actual necromancer with minions. Let's just imagine
so you got more
this
people.
Wasn't online. Let's imagine I just bought this as an offline adventure game. I'd still be pretty happy. There's a load of choices and builds and content. This is a decent RPG game outside of its online capabilities. Now, I've only been playing through the opening part of the Prophecies campaign. I've been playing what many consider to be the slowest, dullest part of the game.
I assume you carried on playing.
I've still had a pretty good time. I've not even touched on the apparently legendary PvP, so I'll just take it from other far more experienced players and assume the PvP is as good as people say it is. Guild Wars 1 is a classic RPG. It's a narrative-driven fantasy adventure game with thousands of builds, and it's playable completely solo, but you can team up with other players or with your friends and go on the adventure together if you want to. You can follow the story, or you can take on co-op missions on hard mode. It's an adventure game with a defined start, middle, and end. And while this can often be seen as a bad thing for an MMORPG, Guild Wars 1 isn't. It's an essential design element of a capable adventure game. It's not afraid to say, this is where you begin, this is how the adventure progresses, this is what you do at the end, and then that's that. But there's thousands of hours of stuff to do before you get there. If you join me on Twitch, chances are I'm still going to be playing this because I've really enjoyed it. And if you've got the game, it'd be really cool to team up sometime. It's got its issues.
Yeah,
the early game
you need to call these people in.
Too well. The ability to permanently lock yourself away from the early game pre-searing skill points is annoying, and it's somewhat obtuse to find all of your character information at a glance. But for the majority, it seems to have aged like a fine wine. I've only seen a tiny bit of what Guild Wars 1 has to offer, and already I know I am probably going to try and finish this game. You can argue about it being an MMO or not being an MMO.
Does it really matter at the end of the day?
What it is,
as long as you
just
enjoy
a
it.
really good classic adventure, which lets you bring your friends along. So to end the review, I guess that's got to be the award, because it's the most direct and fair thing I can say. Guild Wars 1. It's a classic fantasy adventure, but with friends. Unless you don't have any, in which case there's henchmen. Unless you have the factions or Nightfall pack, in which case there's heroes and you can customize them more. And you can play it solo, but it's also kind of online. And you can do online stuff if you want to, but you don't have to. Out of 10.
Fantastic.
Cheers for watching. Another massive thank you to the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, and our Discord. And as always, have a great day.
Fabulous. All right, what a good video. What a good video. I mean, I'm sure we all know how good of a content creator Josh Strife Hayes is. So, but I don't even know what to say. I mean, it seems like a game that if you enjoy these classic RPGs and you can get over an older game with older graphics and is a bit janky, it seems like that's something that, you have to try. What are people saying? I was fortunate enough to play this game at its peak, and it's wonderful. Thousands of guilds, players all around. I can imagine, like, when MMOs are full of life, this is the best. No heroes. Mercs were pretty bad, so you had to group for the dreadful Rurk mission. The Hall of Heroes, incredibly complex guild versus guild. ANET creates some of the amazing memories for thousands of players that will never be celebrated enough. It kind of like when you hear from these players and you see these videos, you just kind of think it's a shame that the Guild Wars 2 wasn't quite, an update of this. It'll be just something a bit more different. Although, like, Guild Wars 2 is a great game, don't get me wrong, but something that could have been like this, as in addition to Guild Wars 2, would have been really cool. My dad was one of the top players in Guild Wars 1. I completely agree with you. Guild Wars 1 was Guild Wars 2 comment. It was so vastly different in terms of mechanics and playstyle. Passed away a few years ago, and his video brought up the old memories of being a kid sitting on his dining room chair, eagerly watching everything he did. Oh, that's nice. For the moment, he would go back to the character selection screen, select my mesmer, and tell me, time my story continue. That's brilliant. No, I don't know who Candy Cane Man is. Fill me in. Who's Candy Cane Man? Yeah, so many ridiculously niche builds in this game. I still remember the 55 monk. Drop your total health to 55 monks. Tattoos. Use a spell that prevents temple. I don't even know what that means. Indestructible monk for grinding. For anyone wanting to get into Guild Wars 1, seeing how the main hub being completely empty of players, you need to change the district to America. Okay, so everyone congregates on America English 1. This is the main hub, so you'll probably see more people there, I guess. Okay, I mean, as I say, like, this, I think this is something that I'm going to have to look into getting and playing, because I've looked at, I think, enough videos on Guild Wars 1, and it would be really interesting to go in and actually experience the story that developed the universe for Guild Wars 2. So this is going to be very, very interesting, and I think I'm going to have a little look into it. It looks like a fantastic game, and when people were telling me about, when I spoke about Guild Wars 1 before, they were saying it's less of an MMO and more of an RPG akin to Dragon Age Origins. I love Dragon Age Origins. I'm probably going to really enjoy this, so I think I'm going to have a look at this game properly and start playing it myself. But until then, please do go and like this video from Josh Strife Hayes. It will be in the description below. Go support his channel. Subscribe to me if you've not already. Also, please do subscribe to me as well and like this video if you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more videos or recommending other things to look at, please put those in the comment section below and we will do that. As this video was a recommendation, so I will happily take suggestions. But I don't know if I have anything else to say. This was a great video. We've been recording for nearly an hour, so I'm probably going to call this here. So thank you all so much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.